final part of part 6 of the COVID-19 conspiracy question mark video series. I hope that you have been empowered so far with this information, and this final one will basically put the finishing touches on that information. You should feel more empowered, and you should also now have a greater sense of autonomy. If you want to download this part 6 in its complete video form, as well as parts 1 through 5, remember, they're going to be all available for full download on the Advanced Medicine platform. If you have your dashboard there that you've already created, just go ahead and log in and download them, pass it on, pay it forward, give it to everyone that you can. They cannot censor this information from your personal devices. Yes, they can censor us from Facebook and YouTube, but they can't censor us everywhere. So get this information in the hands of everyone that you love, and I hope that you enjoy this final part.
Well, really the first thing is to lower that flame every way possible. Eliminate every one of your 7 toxicities, detox, eat clean food, get out in the sunshine, take off the mask, take back your own health. Say, no, I trust, my own body. I'm going to heal myself. Wonderful, calming music, meditation, whatever it is to get out of that. Go back to your family, hug them, love them. I mean, I can't even imagine. I remember very clearly when everybody told everybody, don't touch an aged patient. Don't, it was horrible for them. It just absolutely horrible for them. And that's what's happening now. Don't get any kind of testing, don't get any kind of anything. Just say, know what? Healthy people don't make anybody sick. Go back out in the world, take back your own life, and that empowers you. And again, and just eliminate the inflammation. Don't eat GMO. Don't allow any injections and detox the other ones. And I think that's the simplest thing we can do right now. And I appreciate what you said of pediatricians and doctors who, once you open the can of worms and you see it, for me and Dr. Rossetti, who I've worked with for 37 years, it's so hard to take that discovering things like interleukin 2, interleukin 5, these epigenetic mechanisms, how to regulate TGF beta with food, how to regulate, with cannabinoids, with plants, how to take my natural chemistry and go back to doing that and heal thyself with food as medicine in the natural products that I learned throughout. So that idea, it's so hard to take. And so that's why it took me a long time to heal from, oh my God, I did that work in 1999. I thought I was doing good. I thought I was doing good by understanding the difference between a pathogenic strain of Ebola and a non-pathogenic strain. But what I technically did was what we're now calling a gain of function study, which can release the emergence of a new, more pathogenic strain that, as Bruce said at the beginning of this talk, our body's not used to. So that's going to generate a strong response depending on the locks and keys that are on that. And we've given that virus that would have never infected a human cell, because there is no key to that lock. You're locked out of that cell, and now you can infect other cells. And it turns out to be very, dangerous, to do that. But you certainly don't correct a wrong with another wrong. You correct a wrong with a right, and that means you don't get any kind of vaccines. Just stop now. And then the last thing I've been saying lately is forgive ourselves and forgive each other. We don't know what we don't know, but that we've been censored now for 40 years and we're not allowed to learn. And propaganda is masquerading as science, as somebody interprets what your paper says, and it's not what you said. And so when you're kept out of the field for 5 years, and that discovery gets turned into propaganda, and that was just, what I was supposed to do while held in jail was sign an apology, which was a confession that said I made a mistake and I'd spend the rest of my life doing honest research. And I said, F you, I've spent my entire life doing honest research, and I'll spend the rest of my life exposing your criminal activity the best I can. And that's empowering, so that I could heal from that very real damage they did to me. Because of course, the lab workers, the first responders, we all got infected by these contagious retroviruses. And I think that's the big picture in COVID-19, that it doesn't equal SARS-CoV-2 alone. That doesn't do any more than a little flu, but it does equal, in a lot of the pathogenesis that clinicians are seeing, it does equal SARS-CoV-2 and XMRVs and mouse xenotropic viruses that have been injected into us, and bird xenotropic retroviruses, and pig and cow, all that tissue culture media that we looked at, that fetal bovine serum that taught us how to grow the cells better so we could grow the antigen, so we could grow the virus, that all ends up in the vaccine. And that's just toxin, along with everything you just said.
That's not even
right.
including all the metals and all the formaldehydes and all the other components. So guys, you just heard one of the leading virologists who spent her life working with Ebola. So everything that you're hearing from the media, from the Faucis of the world, that's not the source. You're hearing it from the source of the person, or one of the people that actually worked on gain of function studies on Ebola. You know, if you can't now register this, then there's no hope left for you if you don't understand this portion. Because, you know, I was smiling when you were saying that the propaganda aspect, and you've been kept quiet. No more, Judy. That's not going to happen anymore. And I can tell you that the world needs this information. The world is hungering for this information. I mean, I am amazed at what's happening right now on a social media scale, and the amount of censorship that's going on. But here's the thing: there are more and more people coming, and they're relaying the information. In the age of the smartphone and the smart devices, they cannot censor anymore. So I appreciate all the stuff. And as Dr. Lipton said, the sacrifice that you made, how you've paid with, you know, I can't even imagine the stress that you went through. And so for you to give us that advice, the specific things that's completely applicable right now to this situation, to every person on the planet, I can't thank you enough for that. Thank you so much for that. Now let's go to the man, the master of creation. So Bruce, what would you tell people right now? What can they do right now to make them their situation, the average person with the average resources?
I would listen to Judy. You know, it just basically, look, there are two things that are working here. There's a body and there's a mind. Both of them influence each other. Take care of the body. As you mentioned, Rashid, that people are not taking care of their body. And then it's like, if you don't take care of your car, it's not going to work anymore. So we have to take care of that. But then we have to take care of the driver, the mind. And so both of those have to come into harmony at this point. And the issue is this: you're buying a story. Who are you buying it from? Do you trust those people? If it comes to the pharmaceutical company, you can bet your life I have no trust for them, because their mission isn't to help me. Their mission is to make a profit. And when you know the mechanics of the pharmaceutical industry, the last thing they really care about is if you're healing. The most important thing they care about is if they're selling their product. And so the reality is this: I have no trust of that pharmaceutical industry, because they have a vested interest in making money from me by disempowering me. When I'm disempowered, then I'm a victim, and then I will do whatever the hell they said, pay them whatever the hell they want, with the belief that what the hell, I don't know, I'm just a guy. But they're the smart ones. I go, they're the smart ones because they know how to manipulate. So should I sit here and worry about what they're saying? And I just want to close very simply. Every year there's a flu season. Happens every year. And it has to do with the fact that colder temperatures lower the body temperature in the respiratory tract, because when you breathe in colder air, the body temperature is not 98.6 anymore. It's colder. And I say, yes. And that is the condition that respiratory viruses require to grow. And that's why it comes during the cold season. Then I go, okay, so there's an annual flu and there's annual death. I go, every year it happens. I say, what's the annual death rate? I go from every year. There's a percentage, okay? Oops, what did I do? Wait. What I do? And the answer is this. A standard flu every year will lead to between 290 to 650,000 people dying. Standard flu. I said, where are we standing today past the midway point of here? I said, we got about 158,000 people. I said, oh, well, then you need 3 times as many more people to die to say that this is not an annual flu, because it still fits in that number. And in the U.S. alone, again, the numbers are up to 61,000 people die in a flu, and everybody goes, that's normal. And what do we have? 37,000 people dead. But now it's the scourge of the planet and everything. It is not any different in statistics than previous years, but it's also biased statistics because, as we mentioned early on, that doctors are given directive from the government to acknowledge that COVID-19 is a source, even if you don't know it, even if you never tested for it. If it seems reasonable to the physician that that person was exposed, then the first cause of death is COVID-19. So, interesting, yeah, COVID-19 is very helpful because what it has done is reduce the death toll from cancer and cardiovascular disease. Thank you. But actually, we just move them from the conventional problem, put a label on COVID-19. Now we have this problem, and we forgot about that problem. So,
homicide,
do I
suicide,
trust them?
motor vehicle accidents, all those have gone down because of COVID-19 now, right? It's very interesting. Well,
yeah. So it's just a flu, and most, nearly half of the people tested carry the virus and have no symptoms. So the basic thing is this. The numbers are completely screwed because you're not counting infected people that didn't sign up at a doctor or hospital. And when you leave them out of the mathematics, you've advanced the mortality rate to numbers that are not existent. And if we come back, and Judy said this, it's just a flu. The complications, though, especially affecting consciousness and environment, are not the flu, but the complications to that flu. And we have to relax. Is this killing more people than normal? I say, not yet. And so, but the fear is all I have to do is tell you you could die. And you immediately will, your subconscious biological imperative is called, will redirect your functions from growth into protection. And as soon as you compromise growth, you are on a downhill run at that moment.
Thank you, Bruce. So you guys not just heard it from the master himself, Dr. Lipton explained that. You're the master. No matter what you said, Bruce, you're always going to be my master. So now I'm going to now say something that a lot of people have tried to create this as a Democratic Republican issue, but they're always trying to divide us anyway, right? It's always a Muslim against Jew, a Christian against Muslim, or a black against white, or a Me Too movement, woman against man, whatever it is. There's always a focus on division, divide and conquer. So I don't care if you believe in Trump. I don't care if you believe in Biden. I don't care if you believe in the Queen of England. I don't care if you believe in the Tooth Fairy. It doesn't make any difference. The whole issue is that we are all one and the same. I want you to remember that. Regarding what Bruce said about the pharmaceutical industry, I only have one message for Bill Gates. You couldn't keep viruses out of Windows. So now you are going to step into technology and try to take care of viruses. No, you need to step the hell back. The last thing I want to do is now talk to you from a clinical standpoint, because I believe that I'm with two of the great luminaries right now. And both of them have done an unbelievable job in helping to advance humanity. So for that, I thank you guys. But from a clinical standpoint, from a clinician standpoint, from a person that's actually treating patients, let me tell you what the truth is now. Dr. Lipton, you just said that the complications, it's not the flu. Judy, you said the same thing. It's not the virus. It's the sequela of it. So my friends that are in the trenches, the ER docs, the trauma docs, the ICU docs, the feedback I'm getting is that this is, whatever it is, it's not a viral issue. This is a hypoxic issue. It's an altitude sickness type of an issue. It's showing a change in the hemoglobin status. There seems to be a disassociation of the iron from the hemoglobin. There seems to be a disruption on a cellular level, which we can't understand, which results from a clinical standpoint in hypoxia and a rapidly deteriorating hypoxia. Now you go back and you mentioned, Dr. Lipton, you said that, Bruce, you said that there was a history. A lot of people are testing positive. You go back and you start looking at the vaccines that people have gotten in the past. There's already studies that have been published showing the people that had the trivalent, the covalent flu shot. And I don't know about other vaccines, adult vaccines. I'm sure that there probably were many other adult vaccines that if people have been exposed to, then they would be testing positive for COVID-19, because we simply don't know all the garbage that's been injected into us. And I think that the most important thing to remember is no matter what happens, if they start mandating vaccines, more people are going to get sick because of other aspects, the toxicological aspects, the energetic aspects that we've just touched upon. And those are going to make people sicker. And they're going to say, oh, look, the vaccines aren't sufficient and they need more vaccines. And they're going to try to feed that and cascade that to give more people vaccines, and more people are going to get sick. More people are going to experience this type of injury. So when you start dealing with barotrauma from intubation, so the hypoxic individuals, we need to fix them. What do? They're bypassing continuous positive airway pressure and bilevel positive airway pressure. In fact, sometimes even bypassing just nasal cannula and going straight to endotracheal intubation. Now you've got barotrauma from the endotracheal intubation. You've got other aspects from everything from aspiration pneumonia to mechanical ventilation settings that can cause a disruption, all sorts of other things. I mean, opened up a whole can of different worms. So now we've got all this aspect that people are being scared. You know, we need more respirators, we need this, we need that. Well, my friends that are doctors are telling me, yes, there's more respiratory issues going on, but it's not a viral issue. And this is in pockets. It's in pockets. We can describe what those pockets are. You can go back and watch part 4, 5G and immunity, which was censored, which was taken off YouTube, and it's an hour-long video taken off YouTube and Facebook. You can look at the toxicology ignored. It was interesting that the second video I did was toxicology ignored, and everybody ignored the toxicology. It's at least watch video. But you know, when the Centers for Disease Control sent out a team to find the cause of death, it's always an infectious disease component, and then it's also the toxicology team. The toxicology team doesn't get the glory. It's the infectious disease team that gets the glory. So why aren't we looking at the toxicological aspect? Because in the toxicological aspect, then a company, an industry, a corporation, an individual is going to be held responsible for it and have to pay the price. But if you blame it on a virus or on a bacteria or something else, then you can say it's a natural issue and you don't have to have any personal responsibility. And this is what it comes back down to, what Dr. Mikowitz and what Dr. Lipton have said, which I've always believed. It comes down to a personal responsibility issue. Who are you going to listen to? Where's the truth resonating for you? What feels right? And there's right now masses, people in mass in Texas, in Colorado, in Michigan, they're no longer tolerating the social isolation. We are herd animals. We need to be associating with each other. So let me tell you from a clinician standpoint, what you need to be doing, exactly what Dr. Lipton says, do what Dr. Mikowitz says. So I'm just going to pass it right back to you, all the way back to you, Dr. Mikowitz. But here's the other aspect. If you're really, 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 really concerned about this, come to our office and we can take care of it in 24 hours. Ozone autohemotherapy, vitamin C injections. There are all sorts of different other intravenous treatments that we do. If you're an average person with the average resources sitting on the other side of the world with Dr. I can't come out to you, you don't have to come out to me. You don't have to come out. There's many other doctors that do this, but here's what you do at home. Vitamin C, selenium, and silver. If you have those 3 things and you are drinking enough water, you're eating a good broad spectrum healthy diet, you're exercising, you don't need anything else. Wash your hands. You are going to be fine. If you take the vaccine, negate everything that I just said, because now you're not going to be fine. That's what it comes down to, okay? Why selenium? Because selenium is, I mean, some people, I know how people are, they think and they hear and they say, wait a second, you said the selenium can be too high dose, it can cause problems like copper and iron. Yes, it can, because these minerals, trace minerals, are toxic in high levels, because then they'll start acting like a heavy metal. But selenium is a birth control pill for viruses. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that has more experience with selenium, intravenous selenium, than I do. I have been using intravenous selenium for 21 years in clinical practice. And I'll tell you that when I heard about this COVID-19, I just made one call to one of my nurses and I said, make sure that we order more. So we got about 10 times our normal supply of intravenous selenium that we normally carry. And that was my only concern that I had. So selenium acts as a birth control pill for enveloped viruses. And this is something that there's even misinformation now that stop taking your multivitamins, it's trace minerals, especially selenium. Again, propaganda to try to create more issues. I'm not going to go through the science of it all. I can show that to anybody that wants to see it, but I can just tell you, take selenium if you're concerned about it, 200 micrograms to 300 micrograms for about a week, 10 days, and then just drop down to 200, 250 micrograms as a base. I'm not making a recommendation to anybody. I'm saying this is what I would do, because again, we haven't done the FDA disclaimers. Maybe I'll put that at the beginning. The silver, colloidal silver, hydrosol silver, whatever kind of silver, silver is a natural antibacterial, antiviral. And then the vitamin C. We've been using intravenous vitamin C for 2.5 decades. They're already using that in China, and they were using an anemic dose. They were only using 25 grams intravenously. I've gone up to 125 grams intravenously. So just so you know, 125 grams is 125,000 milligrams. If somebody were to take that orally, you'd have blowouts for the next week because your body couldn't tolerate it. But just take vitamin C orally, take silver hydrosol or silver colloidal silver and some selenium, and you're going to be just fine. Wash your hands, rest, eat well, exercise. Exercise is the most important, the freest therapy that you can do. I will write you a prescription if you want, and I won't even charge you for it. Just start exercising. It's going to increase your natural killer cells. It's going to increase your B lymphocytes. It's going to increase the entire lymphocyte subpopulation. So with that, is there anything else that you guys would like to share with the people that are listening to this? And I really can't express to you how thankful and grateful I am on the behalf of the entire world's population that you guys are doing this, because this is going to go to the entire world. You guys are going to be you're already rock stars. In my world, you've all been rock stars for a long time, but now you're really going to be rock stars. So I just want to ask you guys, is there anything else that you would like to add?
In my case, we've done it.
Yeah.
We've gone over it. We got it. Play the tape over again if you missed it, because all the information is in here.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
What I want to tell you guys about the face mask is that when you're wearing a face mask, you're actually decreasing the flow of oxygen into your mouth. And we're a species we're actually a physiological system that's dependent upon oxygen. Plants depend on carbon dioxide, which is what we breathe out. And then plants breathe out oxygen, which is what we breathe in. Well, when you've got a mask on, you're restricting the flow of oxygen. And when you're restricting the flow of oxygen, that causes stress in the body because you're not getting enough oxygen. You're almost having to fight for air. Well, that drives your cortisol levels up, which is the stress hormone, and that increases the sympathetic mimetic tone in the body, or the flight-fight response. And it also suppresses the immune system, because when you have increase in cortisol, increase in steroids, you have a decrease in the immune system. And of course, we want the immune system to be peaked if we're concerned about any type of an opportunistic illness. On top of that, you'll hear tonight on part 6, I'm not sure in which part it'll be, whether it's tonight's part or tomorrow's part or whichever part you'll hear it. There's 4 parts. You'll hear Dr. Mikowitz talk about what happens when you restrict the airway by having a mask over it. So you're creating more stress. And remember that viruses are particles of DNA and RNA that exist inside our cells. So during a period of stress, during a period of toxicological onslaught, during a period of any type of significant physiological change, when the body is stressed, you'll have a release of these viruses, very similar to exosomes, which Dr. Kaufman has talked about. So essentially, some of us think that they're one and the same, but essentially you have an increase in the viral shedding, if you will, for lack of a better term. You have an increase in the viral release in your system when your body's stressed. So now you're walking around with the mask on, you're actually going to increase the yield of the viral components that are being released from the cell because you're being stressed, because you're wearing something that's restricting your ability to breathe. And then the third thing is that you've already heard where people have talked about keep your hands away from your face, keep your hands away from your mouth. Well, not just think, you're wearing this mask, it's irritating, you're sweating, people are going to be adjusting the mask and touching their face, so that's another issue. And I want you to be aware that there are already people that have had accidents due to having what they call syncopal episodes, basically passing out because of lack of oxygen from the mask. There have been a number of documented accidents like that, and I believe even a fatality or 2 because of a person wearing a mask. So the recommendation of actually using a mask is detrimental, all right? It's detrimental. And in part 6, I talk about a few other things too, but I wanted to bring this up during Christina's interview. And I'll just say this last thing about a mask so that people can really get perspective of it, okay? When a surgeon wears a mask or a nurse wears a mask in a surgical suite when they're doing an operation, you know, they're doing a hernia repair, they're doing a coronary artery bypass graft, a bypass surgery, or they're doing a hernia repair, or whatever they're doing. Why is the surgeon and why are the nurses wearing masks? Is it because they're afraid that they're going to get something, catch something contagious when they're doing the hernia operation, the hernia repair? No, it's so that the surgeon, if he's drooling or spitting or coughing or sneezing, he doesn't sneeze or cough or spit or drool into the surgical field, into the sterile field. That's why we wear the mask, to protect the sterility of the surgical field. So we're not doing it because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're doing it so that we protect the other party. In the Far East, when people wear the mask, there's a lot of places in China, Korea, Japan that they wear a mask. Well, they're not wearing a mask because they're afraid that they're going to catch something from someone. They're wearing a mask when they're sick so that they don't give somebody what they're carrying potentially. So again, the masks are designed to prevent us from creating a problem for other people if we're feeling ill or if we're in a situation where we can't drool or spit or cough or sneeze or something else into an area that could basically expose somebody else to what we're carrying. Now, what are we doing here? We're telling everybody to wear a mask, which is increasing the cortisol levels in the body, increasing stress, decreasing the airflow, causing an increase in release in the viral load that's being released within our system from the cells, because remember, viruses are inside the cells. And we're doing it all under the pretense of protecting ourselves, whereas in fact, masks are designed to protect the other party. So it's the most ludicrous thing, and the misinformation to tell you to wear a mask is actually creating a greater issue, a greater suppression of your immune system, which would render you more susceptible to any type of opportunistic pathogen, virus, bacteria, whatever the case may be. So I just wanted you to know that. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy Saturday night. And I appreciate you being with us. And actually, Bruce, you're in